We begin with a prayer from Shankaracharya's famous hymn, Shiva Manasa Puja, mental worship of Shiva, offering everything mentally, is on page 186 of this book, The Universal Prayers. The second one on page 186. Om Atmatvam Girijamati Sagachara Prana Shariram Griham Pujate Vishayopabogarachana Nidra Samadhi Sthiti Sanchara Padayo Pradakshina Vidhi Stotrani Sarva Giro Yad Karma Karomi Tadakhilam Shambho Tavaradhanam. O Lord Shambho, you are my very self. My mind I compare to the Divine Mother, Girija, your consort. My pranas, Pancha Pranas, I compare to the followers. Sahachara means companions. Saha means together, Chara means moving. We travel together from beginning till end. Other things they come later and leave earlier. But prana comes earliest, prana leaves the last one. If prana leaves, then the end of this life. So this called, the pranas are called Sahachara, companions for this life. Prana Sriram Griham Pujate Vishayo Bhagavarachana. All may work with sense objects I'll consider as offerings made to you in worship. Nidra Samadhi Sthiti. Even my sleep is a form of absorption in you. Sanchara Padayo Pradakshina Vidhi. My moving about, wanderings, are like parikrama, circumambulations, pradakshina. Stotra nisarva giro. All my words that I speak are prayers offered to you. Yad yad karma karomi tat tadakilam shambho tavaradhanam. O Lord Shambho, whatever work I do with my mind, speech and sense organs, all that work is your worship. This hymn, this stotra, contains a very powerful Vedantic message. Everything that we do, including every breath we take, every step we take, everything we do by thinking, speech or action, should all be done as if we are doing worship of the Lord. Yad yad karma karomi, whatever work I do, tat tadakilam. Akilam means everything, all the work that I do. Tava aradhanam is your worship. This is exactly the same as what Bhagavan Sri Krishna has said in the Gita. Whatever you do, do it as an offering to me. In one place, which will come later, chapter 18, verse 46, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says directly that whatever work you do it as my worship, not just as an offering. That means everything that we do, small or big, should be done with great care, devotion, and love and joy. Everything, small things. So we should do it carefully, nicely, joyfully, thanking God for giving us opportunity to do that work. Sometimes it becomes difficult when you are not doing well. we try to take rest, but the work is worship. Work is worship. So that message is in this verse from Shiva Manasa Puja. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om peace. Peace be within us all. Peace and harmony be amongst all beings. And peace be everywhere in nature. So we shall continue with chapter 14. As we have seen, this is an easy chapter dealing with the three gunas. We are all bound by the three gunas as jivas. And the three gunas are what limit us to this one particular personality and encourages the ego to think that I am the separate person. So right in the beginning, second chapter, Bhagavan talked about the three gunas and gave a very important instruction in chapter 2, verse 45. Nistre gunyo bhava. There the gunas already came and came in third chapter also. And in 14th chapter, full details are given about the three gunas. Trigunya Vishaya Veda Nistrigunya Bhavarjuna 245. Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvastho Niryoga Kshema Atmavan Nirdvandvo Bhava. Dvandva means pairs of opposites, extremes. Happiness, unhappiness, praise and blame, profit and loss, good and bad. We go through all these variations in our daily life. Nothing is constant in this life. Constant changing. Change is the only constant thing. So we have to become free from these things. Nirdvandva bhava. When good happen, bad happen, I am going to be. Sukha dukkhe same kratva. Sukha dukkha, for me it is same. 238. Many places this equanimity has come. So that instruction came in the same sloka, 245, Bhagavan Sri Krishna said, Nistraigunyo bhava. What makes us go through these gyrations, variation from this extreme to that extreme, is the play of the three gunas. We are subject to the three gunas. We are controlled by the gunas. Instead, we should become free from the control of the three gunas. Thraldom. Swami Vivekananda used the word thraldom. Thraldom means servitude, being a servant of the three gunas. No, we should be master of three gunas. How to become free from the three gunas and why? Why we should become three gunas is explained in many places already in earlier chapters. When we become free from the sway, influence of the three gunas, we realize that you are never the individual, you are always the Atma. God was within us always. That knowledge comes to light. It is there, but the three gunas mask that knowledge. God is present in all of us all the time, has been never been absent. But our awareness of God's presence is not there always. Why are we not aware of God's presence? Why God remains hidden from you? Because the three gunas influencing the mind, they cover the knowledge of the self that we studied in the earlier chapters. So in the Upanishad also same thing comes. God is present in all. Kathopanishad, there is a very famous verse. This Atman is present in all. Esha sarveshu bhuteshu Kathopanishad. Nachiketa. To Nachiketa. Esha sarveshu bhuteshu kuda atma na prakashate. Esha atma, this Atman, only one Atman in all. Bodies are different, infinite in number. Atman is one. That you know from 13th chapter. I am the same Kshetragna in all the Kshetras, he said in the second verse. So that presence of Atman is covered. He remains hidden. Gudaha. Esha Atma. Sarveshu Bhuteshu. In all the beings, Gudaha remains hidden from you. Na prakashate. Does not come out and make itself visible. The mind always craves for attention. We want to draw attention to ourselves from other people. Look at me, I'm so different, I'm so special. And people do some kind of silly things to draw attention to themselves. Some strange kind of haircut, making the hair green and putting a t-shirt with some provocative, unpronounceable statement. It's all silly attempts to draw attention to one. The mind plays that game. I want to be visible. I want to be seen. I want to be appreciated. But Atman is not like that. It's calm and present inside. Satchidananda. No need to crave for attention. Everything happens by His will. We are that. That's the main message of Vedanta. So that realization will come when we become free from the control of the three gunas. The three gunas make us limited, mask the presence of the divine within us. That's why Sri Krishna said you have to become free from three gunas. This Traigunyo Bhava. Now, what do the gunas? How do the gunas keep us in ignorance? What is their effect, and what happens when we leave the body under the sway control of the three gunas? That's being explained in the remaining part of the chapter. We are going to study from 14 onwards until almost 26, verse 26. How the gunas limit us. If you know how, then you can become free from them. So that is what we will do now. Sloka number 14. Yada sattve pravruddhetu pralayam yanti dehabrit tadottamavidam lokan amalan pratipadyate. In the 8th chapter, we studied the last thought in our mind at the last moment of our life indicates our destination, where we go after leaving the body. If we leave the body remembering God, we will go to God. Therefore, Sri Krishna said in the 8th chapter, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara. In the 8th chapter. In the 8th chapter, sloka 4, 5 and 13, there the instruction came, whatever thought is uppermost in your mind at the last moment of your life, that will show where you are going to go after leaving the body. If you think about God at the last moment of our life, then we will go to God. To be able to do that, to be able to think about God at the last moment, you have to practice thinking about God from this moment onwards. Otherwise, it will suddenly come. If you spend your whole life thinking about the world, then those thoughts will come, worldly thoughts will come. So Bhagavan's instruction is Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmara. Remember me at all times. Smarana means remembering. Yudhyacha, perform your duty. So in the verse number 14, what happens when we leave the body, when we are in a sattvic frame of mind, is being described. Yada sattve pravruddhetu. Pravruddha means increased. When sattva is maximum in our mind. As you saw before, the three gunas are always in a combination. Each wants to be the dominant one. When sattva is dominant, sattve pravruddhe, yada, when sattva is dominant in our minds, pralayam yanti dehabhrit. Dehabhrit means all the jivas who hold. Brihaparana means to hold. Deha, holding on to the body. We are body conscious people, the jivas. So when we leave the body, when we are in a sattvic frame of mind, yada sattve pravruddhe to pralayam yanti dehabhrit. Pralayam means destruction when we leave the body. Then what happens to the jiva? Where do we go? Second line, verse 40. Tadottama vidam lokan amalan pratipadyate. Pratipadyate means attains, goes. Uttamavidam lokan amala. Amala means free from impurity. Mala means impurity. Amala means impurity. That means pure. Amala means pure. Amalan lokan. Pure location. Loka means the world or plane of existence. Uttamavidam lokan. The place where knowledgeable people who have self-knowledge, they go. To that place we go. Attains the unstained worlds pertaining to the best knowledge, Uttamavidam. Those who have knowledge of God, they go to that particular destination above human level. They are called Siddha and other people, Sadhya, Siddha, ever perfect people, Nitya Siddha, those lokas where they live, we ascend to that higher level. If you leave the body thinking about sattvic thought, thinking about God. Tadotamavidam loka namalan pratipadyate. Actually, this information was given. Sri Krishna talked about it in the 6th chapter already. When Arjuna asked question in this chapter 6, verses 37, 38, 39. 3 slokas, one question Arjuna asks. Arjuna's question was in 6th chapter, same thing there. What happens to the people who are devotees and do spiritual practice, but not enough to reach the goal of realization? All our life is strive, but our effort is not enough, not strong enough, not enough to give us liberation. And in the meantime, death comes and will leave the body. Then what happens to the person? Will not all the work that he did does it go in waste or some result will be there? That was Arjuna's question in chapter 6, 37, 38, 39. 40, 41, 42, chapter 6. Bhagavan Shri Krishna explains where they go. There he says, no good work will go in waste, even if it is not enough to bring us the result of realization. There he says, such a person be born, Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Prashto Vijayate. Shuchinam is pure people. Srimatam, well-to-do people. If a child is born in a very poor family in Islam, where they have no place to stay, they live in a tin shed or something, what kind of environment a child will grow up in? No proper education facility, not even food, etc. But this devotee will be born in a well-to-do family, rich family, sattvic family. Athava yogena meva kule bhavati matam, chapter 6. They will be, such people will be born in the family of yogis. Dhimatam yoginam, intelligent yogis. Everybody is doing yoga practice. So the child will be born there. From birth, the child will begin to practice yoga. So that's what happens. So coming back to sloka 14, second line. Tadotamavidam lokan amalan pratipadyate. When we leave the body, if we leave the body when thinking about sattvic thoughts about God, then we go to the higher levels of lokas existence, where the knowers of the best knowers of truth will be there. So onwards it is upward journey. And the opposite happens when we leave the body and thinking about tamasic thought, that will come later. So sloka number 14. Passing away when the sattva dominates, the embodied self attains the unstained worlds pertaining to the best of knowers, higher level. This comes in the Upanishads also. It's under the Upanishad, the subject of rebirth has been described. Ramaniya Charana, Ramaniyam, Yoniva Padyeram. Ramaniya means pleasant, sattvic. Charana means lifestyle, work. People live in sattvic lifestyle, sattvic people, Ramaniyam yonim apadyaram. They will be born in very pleasant circumstances, conducive to rapid further spiritual progress culminating in liberation. Kapuya charana kapuyam yonim apadyaram. This is from Chandra Upanishad. People who behave in non-human ways, in tamasic ways, kapuyam yonim apadyaram. They will be born in lower births, animals, etc. It will come here in the next sloka. So we go to sloka number 50. Rajasi pralayam gatva karma sangishu jayate tatha praleenastamasi mudhayo nishu jayate. Rajasi in Rajas. That means if our mind is full of rajasic thoughts, desire, want to achieve this one, leaving the body thinking about worldly things. I should have acquired a property in Florida. No, I cannot. I should have written this in my will. Like this worldly thoughts. What happens to my grandson? He's a senior in college. I want to see, attend his graduation. These kinds of thoughts will come. Rajasic thoughts. Rajasi pralayam gatva. Leaving the body, thinking about rajasic worldly thoughts. What happens to that person? Where is he or she born again? Karma sangishu jayate. Sangha means attachment. Karma sangi is a person who is attached to work. We saw that before earlier in this chapter. Rajasic people are always attached to work. Want to do this, do that one, get this result, do that. The Rajasic temperament. They'll be born like that. Rajasic have family. Karma sangishu jayate. Rajasic thought, Rajasic family. What happens to a person who leaves the body in a tamasic frame of mind? Second line of verse 15. Tatha praleenas tamasi mudayo nishu jayate. Tamasi praleenaha. Pralina means leaving the body. If we leave the body thinking about tamasic thoughts, anger, etc., violence, Rajasi pralayam gatva, what happens? Mudayo nishu jayate. Mudayone means lower levels of life, maybe animal life. Here a question comes. Some people ask the question, if a person is a human being in this life, how can he be born as an animal? Can you go to a lower level? The scripture says it, yes, it is possible. If a human person who has been given the most precious gift of human birth has been given that gift, does not use it as a human being should do, does inhuman acts, worse than animals, behaves worse than animals, why would God waste another human body for that person in the next life? So it is our reasoning, our way of looking at things. So that person will be born in a lower level. Modayonusha means it could be animal level or even in human beings in a very low level. Even a person can be human being, but born in such circumstances where nothing is possible. Then to work along several lifetimes it takes to come back and start doing spiritual practice and these things. So that is not good. So we should not think about Rajasic thought, not only at the time of death, but even now. From this moment onwards, we should make a firm determination that I will not allow any tamasic thought to come to my mind. It's my domain. My mind is my domain, where I can do act. I have freedom there in mind. The only freedom is what we can think this moment. Other things we can't change in the world. What other people do, what happens in the world, we cannot change. But I can change my thoughts any time. It's in my power. That's the only power I have. Only domain of freedom I have. My mind. It's my kingdom. I put whatever thought I want into my mind. Let me take charge. Let me not allow all kinds of thoughts to come unsupervised, uncontrolled. I will be in charge of my mind, of my thoughts. I will think about God, sattvic thoughts all the time. That is our prerogative, our right, we have to exercise that. That's our freedom. So we should think about sattvic thoughts all the time, so that at the time of death, we will be able to think sattvic thoughts, think about God, and go to reach our destination of God realization. So that is these two slokas, 14, 15. There Bhagavan says what happens when we leave the body, thinking about sattvic, rajasic, tamasic thoughts. Now, when we pursue a sattvic lifestyle, what happens? What happens when we pursue a rajasic or tamasic lifestyle? That is being described in the next few slokas. Sloka number 16. Karmana sukrutasyahu satvikam nirmalam phalam rajasastu phalam dukkham ajnanam tamasa phalam. If we lead a sattvic lifestyle, what happens? Sukrutasya karmanaha satvikam nirmalam phalam. We get very good results. Joy, freedom from suffering, devotion to God, knowledge, all these things will come. Rajasustu phalam dukkham. If we lead a rajasic lifestyle, lot of activity, desire, acquire this, acquire that, manage this one, then dukkha will come. Because the more things we have, more complicated our life will be. In the last class, I gave an example of a person whom I knew. And that man had a good job, accountant or something. And you should have been content with that. He had a house. No, he wanted to acquire more property. So he bought 5, 6 other houses, rented them out to other people, tenants. Problem. Happy with one house, that's all you need, one house to be. But 5 other houses, if you have, rent them out to tenants. Always some problem. Everybody gets one. Every day gets a phone call. One tenant says, "Oh, my faucet is leaking in the kitchen. Can you get it fixed? Can you call the plumber?" So call the plumber. And negotiation, paying the bill. Another tenant calls, "Oh, the electricity is not there. Something is wrong with the electric connection. It's not working." We call the electrician, negotiate for the price and contract and pay the bill. Every day, one call comes. Unnecessary headache brought upon by one's own self. If problems come because of uncontrolled reason, then you can say why. But if I myself create the problem, complicate my life unnecessarily, then I have to suffer, whom to blame. So rajas means that acquiring things, doing things, too much activity, desire, everything. Rajasastu phalam dukkham. 16th verse. Ajnanam tamasah phalam. What's the phalam? Phalam means fruit, result. Result of tamas, what is that? Ajnanam, deep ignorance. Not having any notion of what is right, what is wrong. Not having any idea about God, the existence of God, God realization, goal of life, nothing. Tamasic life, that will come. That is tamasa ajnanam phalam. Deep ignorance and more suffering. So what we should do? Lead a sattvic lifestyle. It's all one lesson, one message in this whole chapter. Lead a sattvic lifestyle. Then we go to verse number 70. What kind of life a person will lead if he or she is rajasic, sattvic, or tamasic? Verse number 70. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha evacha pramada mohau tamaso bhavato jnanam evacha. Of sattva is born knowledge. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam. Knowledge here means primarily knowledge of the self, Atmajnana, knowledge of God. And also, we need one knowledge of the world. Apara Vidya, we need a little bit for leading this life. We should not ignore it completely. We should acquire some aparavidya. Devidya, Veditavya, Upanishads both have to be known. Paravidya, aparavidya. But sattva gives us paravidya, knowledge of God. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam. What the rajas will give us? Rajaso lobha evacha. From rajas, greed will come. Greed means opposite of contentment. I have this much. With this, I am happy. I can be happy. This is enough. I'll devote the rest of my time and energy for God. That is contentment. Absence of that contentment is no matter how much I have, I still want more, still want more. Greed can kill a person. Greed for money, greed for power, greed for fame, etc. They are all destructive forces in our life. For a time, they appear to be giving us fame, etc., money, etc. But eventually, they will lead us to destruction. Buddhina Ashar Pranashyati. We saw earlier. 262, 63. Rajaso lobha evacha. From rajas, greed will come. What will come from tamas? If you lead a tamasic lifestyle, pramada moho tamaso bhavato jnanam evacha. From tamas, pramada moha. Pramada has come many times before. Pramada means not being able to discriminate between right and wrong, real and unreal, and making wrong choices, forgetting to do what is to be done, doing things which should not be done, errors of omission and commission, and forgetting the goal of life, wasting our lifetime, precious lifetime, in pursuing useless things. All that is pramada. Pramada moha, delusion. Delusion means deep delusion. The people do some things hoping that will give happiness. There's no chance of getting happiness from it. But they do things like that. Waste their whole lifetime, energy. Lifetime is very precious. Every moment gone is gone. It will not come back. We have to treat every moment as a precious gift. We should not waste in thinking unnecessary thoughts, rajasic, tamasic thoughts. But that's what tamas makes us do. So the result of tamas is deep ignorance. Rebirth and suffering, etc. will follow. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha evacha pramada moha tamasaha. From tamas, pramada moha. Bhavato ajnanam evacha. Ignorance also will come from tamas. So the message is same. Pursue a sattvic lifestyle, subdue rajas, and get rid of tamas. That's the whole message of this whole chapter 14. Then same theme continues. What happens? The different people pursuing different lifestyles. Sattvic, rajasic, tamas. Verse number 18. Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha madhye tishtanti rajasa jaganya gunavrittistha adho gachanti tamasa. 18th verse. Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha. Sattvastha means one who stays in sattvic lifestyle. Like grihastha, one who stays in the house. Sattvastha. One who lives a sattvic lifestyle, sattvastha, to them what happens to the sattvic people? Urdhvam gachanti, they go up. This already came before. They go to higher levels of existence, closer to God realization, reach God realization eventually. What happens to rajasic people? Madhye tishtanti rajasa. They stay in the middle. They don't go up and they don't go down. Same as human level. The next life will be same as this life. A little bit change in the details. The plot is the same, little bit details different. It's a being born here, will be born in another family, another country. And same good and bad and suffering, desire, fulfillment. waste of lifetime, rajasic life. So that will continue. Madhye tishtanti rajasa. They don't go up or down. What happens to sattva, tamasic people? Jaganya guna vrittistha adho gachanti tamasa. Tamasic people will go down. Adho gachanti. Adho mukha. So it says, while tamasic folks abiding in the ways of the lowest constituent go down. Jaganya guna vritti. Jaganya means lower level. Performing, thinking tamasic thoughts, doing tamasic deeds, saying tamasic speech will take us only down and down and down in a downward spiral from where it's difficult to retrace our path. Becomes difficult if you get caught in a downward spiral. Very difficult to change the direction, make a U-turn and come back upwards. Upward journey is more difficult if you're downward momentum. That is what tamas does to us. So we should avoid tamas at all costs. So in the commentary it says, to go up, urdhvam gachanti, sattvastha. To go up means to be born in the worlds of gods, devas, etc. Those who are confirmed in sattva, who live as men of sattva should do so. They go to higher worlds. Rajasic natures are born among human beings. The Rajasic people will be born as human beings. So we are born as human beings in this life because we were primarily Rajasic. There was some sattva in us. That's why we are in such a very fine circumstances. We are in the best possible circumstance to realize God in this life. Everything we need to know God is already given to us. So a lot of sattva also was there in us. We are not only purely Rajasic. Some tamas was also there, a little bit. So that is also producing tamasic. Sometimes we become angry, jealous, etc. Yell and scream. A little bit tendency is there. We try to control that one. So, Rajasic natures are born among human beings, abiding in the ways of the lowest constituent, tamasic people, those whose life is marked by sleep, indolence, etc., who are deluded, go down. They are born in animal wombs. Shukra says, it's possible we go down to animal life. If you don't use the human birth for realizing God, for which it is given, behave like animals, then it will be all right. One more lifetime, we become an animal, come back later. Just like taking time off. If just like if a young child is creating mischief in their house, running all over the place and pulling everything, then the mother will take the child to the basement, put it on a chair facing the wall, and say 1 hour time out. You can't move. No TV, no food, nothing. 1 hour grounded. There's animal life. For a few years, animals live for a short time. Some animals live only for a few months or so. I don't know. Some animals live longer time. Elephants and crocodiles. So that time is time off. Or if a teenager is creating a lot of havoc, wants to take the car out, and the car is expensive, may create accidents. So the parent says, this weekend, Friday night until Sunday night, no car. Some kind of mild kind of punishment. So that is animal life. Take time off. You're running about too much, wasting your time. One lifetime, you just go down. And then you come back again. They are born in animal wombs. Now, how to, most important part of this chapter is coming now from verse number 19 until 26, remaining part of this chapter. How to become free from the three gunas. So far, we have seen the result of the three gunas. What happens in tamasic, rajasic life, sattvic life, tamasic life, where they do all those things we know. How do they bind us, etc. We know. Now the question is practical. How does one become free from the three gunas? Nistraya Gunya Bhava, God had said. So next few verses are very important. So verse number 19. Nanyam gunebhyah kartaram yada drishtanupashyati gunebhyascha param vetti madbhavam sodhigacchati. When the percipient sees no agent other than the constituents and knows my status beyond them, he attains my status. This translation is not very easy. The word percipient, we don't use the word percipient in our conversation. One who perceives, one who sees. When the gunebhyaha anyam kartaram yada drishta anupashyati. Drishta means seer. We are all seers. When we see that the agent of all the actions is nothing other than the three gunas. So let me simplify that one. Gunebhyaha anyam kartaram yada drashta anupashyati. Other than the three gunas, if we see as the doer, that is ignorance. When the percipient sees no other agent, when you see the Atman as non-doer, that is knowledge. So this came in the third chapter. Who is the doer? Recently I spoke on that one Sunday. Who is the doer? The gunas are the doers. Prakritehe gunaihi kriyamanani sarvashaha. 327. This information is already there in his third chapter. Chapter 3, verse 27. Bhagavan Shri Krishna says it is the gunas alone that engage in activities. Prakrite kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvashaha. Prakrite gunaihi, by the gunas of Prakriti, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, they are the gunas. Sarvasha karmani karyamanani, all actions are being done. The Atman, real self, remains free from action, karma phala. No action for Atman, no fruit of action for Atman. All actions are done at the body-mind level. All fruits of actions are experienced at the body-mind level. What is the body and the mind? Gunas. The gunas of Prakriti, they themselves form the sense organs in the body and the sense objects, both. What is action? Interaction between sense organ, sense object. Where does it happen? At the body-mind level. What are they? Gunas of Prakriti. What about the Atman? Fed them from what? So the people who see Atman as a non-doer, akarta, such people have true knowledge. Akartaram na yapashya. Na anya gunebhya kartaram. Na kartaram. Not the doer. Atman is not the doer. That we should see. That is knowledge. Gunebhyascha param veti madbhavam sodhigacchati. The Atman is superior, higher than, separate from guna. Gunebhyascha param veti, supreme. Atman. So our personality is made up of two things. We have been studying it for many chapters now. Kshetra, Kshetrajna, etc. The body, mind made up of sense or objects made up of gunas. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, Prakriti part. Purusha part is the consciousness within us, Atman within us. These two are separate. Purusha is a real permanent thing, that's our true nature. Body, mind comes and goes, they are like the garment that you are wearing, not permanent. So that distinction is the important. That's Viveka, which is real, which is unreal. Gunebhyascha param meti madbhavam saha adhigacchati. And knows my status beyond them, beyond the gunas. Then he attains my status. The Lord is speaking, Bhagavan is speaking. That means we reach God or we attain God realization if we clearly distinguish between the body mind where all the actions happen, gunas prevail, and the Atman which is free from the gunas and same as Brahman. I am Atma Brahma. Upanishads says, famous Mahavakya. This individual Atman is same as Brahman. How? Just like the example of a space in the cup. There's a cup, 8 ounce capacity cup, empty space is there. And infinite space is there outside the cup, outer space. What's the difference between the space in the cup and the space outside? No difference, same space. But this appears to be limited because of association with the cup. And that association is temporary. Our association with the body, mind, gunas is temporary. Fortunately, we can become free from it in this life by the grace of God and a little bit self-effort. So we are not that one. That is true knowledge, jnana. So that's what we will get when you become free from the 3 gunas, the advantage, the benefit of becoming free from the 3 gunas. This came in the earlier chapters also. The earlier chapter, in the 13th chapter, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, 23, Shloka 23, chapter 13. Ya evam vetti purusham prakritim jagunai saha sarvata vartamanopi nasagoyo vijayate. A person who knows the distinction between prakriti and purusha. Prakriti means body, mind, sense organs, sense object. Purusha means his self, jnana, the conscious part within us, divine part within us. If you know the difference, then we will have true correct knowledge of the self. Atma Jnana will come. Like that it will benefit self. Then which took out. No, I skipped a few pages. Yeah, sloka number 19. Nanyam gunebhyah kartaram yada drishtanu pashyati. Drishta means all the seers. We are all seers. Gunebhyascha param veti. Self is other than, higher than gunas. Guna means prakriti. Transforming itself into body, mind, sense organs, and objects. You are not that. You are seeing that one. There are objects that we can see. So we are not that. If I am seeing some object, then I am not that object. I am the seer. So I am seeing the 3 gunas. So I am the seer, drishta. I am separate from them. That knowledge is true knowledge. So what happens? Madbhavam adhigacchati. He attains my state. Madbhava means my status. That means we become one with God. That is true realization, moksha, whatever. Verse number 20. Gunanetanati tyatrin dehi deha samadbhavan janma mrityu jara dukkhi vimakto amritamashnute. Amritamashnute. What is the benefit of becoming free from the 3 gunas? First step is separating myself from the 3 gunas. Verse number 90, previous verse. I'm not the gunas of prakriti. I'm not the sense organs. I'm not the sense objects. I'm not the mind. I'm not the body. Separating. I am the Atman. That is first step. In becoming free from the 3 gunas, we should at least know we are separate from the 3 gunas. That knowledge is the starting point for becoming free from the 3 gunas. Then he says, verse number 20, Gunanetan atitya, 3 gunan atitya, transcending the 3 gunas. Achita means one is transcended, gone above, left behind. The 3 gunas. Dehi deha samadbhavan. The 3 gunas have what? Okay. Deha Samad Bhavan. Body has gunas as its origin. Body, sense organ, sense organ. Transcending these three constituents, once the body has sprung up, transcending the three gunas from where the bodies have come. Bodies and sense organs have come from the three gunas, from Prakriti, separate from the self. That separation must be made in our mind first step. Now what is happening? We are identifying with the body mind, not seeing the separation. I am the body, I am the mind. So that ignorance that I am the body mind has to be given up. And in my mind, I should be clear that I am separate from the body and the mind. First step in transcending three gunas. Body mind are made up of three gunas. I am not that one. That is very first step. Then in practice it in every action, become free from the three gunas. Janma mrityu jara dukkhai vimukto amrtamashnute. Transcending the three gunas from where bodies, minds, and objects have come, a person attains immortality. Amritam ashnute was part of sloka number 20. And what does that guarantee? Janma, mrityu, jara, dukkhaihi, vimuktaha. All these problems, janma, birth, mrityu, death, jara, old age, dukkha, all kinds of suffering, apply to whom? Happen to whom? To the body mind. If I am not body mind, I am not affected. It affecting my body mind, but I am not that. I am the Atman. Nothing touches me. No dukkha for the Atma, no sukha for the Atma, no sense object, no sense object. Total freedom. So this knowledge is the basis. First, we should start in our mind. I am not the body, mind, sense organ. They are made up of three gunas. I am not them. I am the Atman, free from all suffering, immortal, eternal, infinite, pure consciousness. That determination, that conviction must be developed first in the mind. Then it becomes easier to put it into practice. This is the path of Jnana Yoga, what we call. But it seems simpler, easier paths also are there. Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga. Little bit water. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Dukkhai, birth, death, old age, and suffering in between birth and Vimuktaha, person becomes free. For a jnani, your self-knowledge, there is no birth, there is no death, there is no suffering, no good, no bad, everything is same, not affected by anything. That you have seen before. But to be free from all these changes, from all these sufferings, one has to have the firm conviction that I am not the body, mind, where all these things happen. I am the Atman. It's difficult to practice. There are easier ways to do the same thing. We studied them in the 12th chapter. Thank you. Transcending the three gunas, once the body has sprung up, the embodied self is liberated from birth, death, old age, and pain, and attains immortality, amartamashnati. Benefit of becoming free from the three gunas, nistraiganya. Now we go to verse, next verse, which is a question: how to identify such a person? Verse number 21. Arjuna asked the question. See, this reminds us. This reminds us of an exactly similar situation in the second chapter. At the end of second chapter, verse number 54, Arjuna asked exactly same kind of question. What are the qualities of a sthita prajna? Now, Sri Krishna gives a long list of qualities. Sitapragya Lakshana, 55 onwards until 71, 72, second chapter. So what is the purpose of this conversation? Arjuna asking this question, how to identify a guna, trigunatita, free from one who is free from three gunas, how to identify a Sitapragya, similar questions. And Sri Krishna gives a list of qualities. The purpose is twofold. One is to know what are the gunas that make a person free from what are the qualities that make a person free from the gunas. What are the limitations of the three gunas? How to become free from the three gunas. That is knowledge, knowing the part, description. The second more important reason why this list is given here, why Arjuna asks is, by practicing those virtues of Trigunatita, we can become Trigunatita, to emulate, to practice. Prescription, a description, and a prescription. Describe a Trigunatita and prescribe activities to become a Trigunatita. Same. That's why we should pay attention to these following verses. So Arjuna Uvacha, look at number 20. Kairlingai strin gunan etan atito bhavati prabho kimachara katham chaitan strin gunan ativartate. Arjuna asked, by what signs, outward visible signs, by what signs is such a person distinguished who has transcended the three gunas? How does the Trigunatita appear? How does he act? How does he speak? How does he behave? Kimachara katham chaitan trim gunanati vartate. How does such a person behave? Achara means behavior. How does he or she go beyond the three gunas constituents? How did this person manage to become free from the three gunas? They're all born by the three gunas. So what I should do to become Trigunatita, that information in the following verses, Sri Krishna, Bhagavan Sri Krishna gives. That is where the practical instructions are given. So far, we have seen what the three gunas are, how they limit us, how they bind us, what is the result of being sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, tamaso, lova, evacha, all those things, suffering, etc. That we have seen. Now it comes the most important part from verse 27, 22 onwards until almost end of the chapter 26, 4-5 verses. There we give hints, instructions on how to become free from the control of the three gunas and become a Trigunatita. There was a famous Swamiji in San Francisco, Trigunatita. He was a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. He was sent to San Francisco to do the Vedanta work there. He established the Vedanta Society of Northern California. Now, that Swami, of course, was in the earlier part of the 20th century. He passed away under very tragic circumstances. How Swami Trigunatita passed away. It shows us what kind of person he was. How was he free from three gunas? When he was doing Sunday services, those days, many people used to come and attend, and then almost all of them are American because NRIs were not there at that time. And among them, there was a mentally deranged person in the Sunday service audience. He used to come. The Swamiji accepted everybody. We don't say don't come because everybody is Holy Mother's child. Okay, we say no to anybody who wants to come. So one day that man came with a handmade crude grenade, explosive device. And in the middle of the talk, that man went to the stage and then banged it. It exploded. And hundreds of pieces spread in all directions. And that Swamiji was also hurt, whose whole body was full of sharp nails and everything. That man died there because he was not a professional terrorist or anything. He just made something and exploded it, and he died quickly. He was taken to the hospital and he died. And Swamiji was taken to hospital also. On his way to the hospital, Swami Vivekananda did not complain about his pain. He asked how is that person doing. He was more concerned about that person's well-being who created the explosion, and then not about worrying about his own body pain. Eventually, that man died the same day, I think. Swamiji also died 2 weeks. 2 weeks was in a lot of suffering. In those days, there were no, this 1910, 1914 around that time. There were no very good painkillers and lot of pain. Swamiji suffered, no complaint of the body. Tirunatita means that no suffering, no matter how intense, affects the person, inner state of mind of the person. Sukhadukke same kritva. Na praharshyet priyam prapya, no dvijit prapya sapri, 520. All of those things, 230. So many slokas we have heard, we have studied, that the sign of a devotee, sign of a jnani is to remain unaffected even by the intense kind of suffering. So, that is the one sign of Tirunatita, remaining unaffected by suffering. That ability will come if we distance ourselves from the body, mind, and I am the Atma. That Swami Tirunatita does sadhana, served Holy Mother, and started Swamiji's news, that magazine, Vedanta Kesari, Brahmavadi, it used to be called. A lot of work he did. So that's the sign of a Tirunatita. A person who, if you want to see a Tirunatita, read about Swami Tirunatita. His name is perfectly accurate. Tirunatita. So we'll stop here. I say the closing prayer, then we can have questions. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may all be happy, may all be free from suffering, may all realize and practice what is noble and auspicious and dharmic. May no one be subject to misery. Om, peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. May there be peace everywhere in nature. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. All of you stay well, and tomorrow